There's three main reveals at Runefest for Old School. There was the Kebos Lowlands, then there was the new skill Warding, and then finally there was a new quest, Grand Master Quest, called Song of the Elves. So I already went through the other two things, and now finally I'm going to get to the new quest, Song of the Elves. There's not a whole lot here, so this video is probably going to be a lot shorter than the past two videos on Runefest. But this actually has probably some of the most interesting content, at least in my opinion. So the main thing from this quest is it's a continuation from Morning's End Part 1 and Part 2, and that whole quest line with Regicide and Biohazard and all that stuff. Probably everyone listening to this, or almost everyone, has at least done Biohazard. So, and the Underground Pass and those quests. So it's a continuation of that storyline, and it's going to open up a new area over in the Elf area, a new Elf city called Prifddinas, possibly. I'm just going to call it that. I don't know if that's right, but Prifddinas. And so the two main things are the Gauntlet and the Skilling Boss. And the Gauntlet is actually a pretty interesting sounding idea, in my opinion. Basically, you fight through waves of monsters, it sounds like, and it sounds like it's going to be one of the hardest bosses, or at least maybe like the final wave is going to be one of the hardest bosses in the game. And while you're fighting through the waves, you start with nothing, and you like collect resources as you're going along, which sounds like a really cool idea to me. Hopefully it involves like the higher your skills are, the better you can do at this boss. Personally, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but personally I was a fan of things like overloads and things where if you had a high level and a skill, it would benefit you PVM wise or PvP wise. I really like that in the other game back in the day. I know a lot of people don't like that though, so I think it'd be fair to at least have like one or two bosses in Old School where your skills actually help you out. Like the higher your non-combat skills, the better you can do in the boss fight. So if we're not going to add like overloads that are cross-game everything, they help you everywhere, we should at least have a couple bosses where your skills can help you out. So in the Gauntlet, it says you collect resources, make armor and stuff while going through the waves. I don't know if it's just you kill the monsters and then they drop the stuff for you, or if you have to go and kind of like mine ore and smith it and smelt it between waves and stuff like that. I don't know what exactly they're planning, but personally I'd like it if it involved your non-combat skills, and the higher your non-combat skills, the better you could do. So next up is the Skilling Boss. I'm pretty excited about this, and they haven't said too much about it yet, so there isn't really too much to discuss other than kind of my opinions and thoughts on what a Skilling Boss should be. And go ahead and comment down below what you guys think a Skilling Boss should be, what you guys would want from something like this. Do you guys just want a simple Wintertodt v2, or would you actually want something that's a boss? Personally, when I see Wintertodt, I don't think of a boss at all. It's more of a mini game that you use to train fire making a little bit and get a little bit of loot. But yeah, that's not a boss in my opinion. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay out kind of what I think a good Skilling Boss would be like. So first of all, bosses are supposed to be, you know, high level. Like currently you don't go to raids 1 with 20 attack and 30 strength. Like they have high requirements. I think a Skilling Boss should be no different. This isn't called, I don't think this is supposed to be a medium level Skilling Boss or a low level Skilling Boss. So I think it should have very high requirements. Just like you would need for a regular boss in game. Usually you want like 90 plus stats. So if you're using mining and agility and woodcutting, whatever, I would expect that you would want to have 90 plus in each of those stats. Maybe not required, but it would benefit you. Just like at a regular boss, having higher combat stats would benefit you. And trying to do it with extremely low stats would be near impossible. That is kind of, I think it should have high recs like that. It's a boss and it should be attacking you, so you should also have to have good gear, just like you need for a normal boss. Right now, you have to have some good defensive gear and high HP. I don't think it should be catering to low levels or level 3s just because it's a Skilling Boss. It's still a boss that you have to fight. So it should still be doing a lot of damage. You should still need some defensive gear and HP. There should also be difficult mechanics applied to the boss, so it's not just you go in and mindlessly farm it like Wintertodt. You actually have to think about it and fight, put some effort into it, kind of like the Inferno. Maybe not as difficult as the Inferno, but some difficult mechanics that are worthy of being, you know, considered a boss fight. And there's good reason for wanting to have high recs and good mechanics, good difficult mechanics. If not, it's going to be very easily farmable. There's going to be people doing it just to possibly train the skill, just passively doing it. There's also a much higher chance of it being botted if it doesn't have high recs or difficult mechanics. And what happens if that's the case is all the drops are going to be worthless. Jagex won't be able to add 2 good rewards to the drop table, or else it could just ruin the economy if there's a billion people farming it. So the high recs keep out a lot of the bots and a lot of the crowds of people that would be doing it otherwise. Open it up to all skills. There's so many mechanics that you can bring to the game that you wouldn't normally use if you weren't using skills. You could use farming to grow like poisonous ingredients, or just ingredients that you use herblore to make like explosives or some other things that could hurt the monster in some way. You could collapse the ceiling with mining, or use mining to collect certain ores and explosive material that you use to create bombs with herblore again. You could set traps with hunter. You could use rune crafting to imbue some sort of like force fields that trap the monster in a certain area for a little bit of time or something like that. Use agility to dodge attacks. Makes like fire traps with a mixture of hunter and fire making. Spikes with crafting and con for like some sort of bleed effect if you get it to step on them or something like that. I mean, there's so many different mechanics that you could do when you open it up to being able to use all skills. So that really shouldn't be a problem as long as Jagex are willing to put in the effort to make those mechanics. Next up, I want to talk about the XP you get from this. Boss, typically when you go to a boss, you don't get good XP. When you go kill Bandos or Armadillo or Corp, it's not about the XP, it's about doing it for the possible rare, expensive loots and making money and that sort of thing. So I think just like other bosses, this shouldn't be about XP. It should be very low XP, and you're doing it to make money. Now there's a very big gap between PVM and skilling as far as making money. Skilling boss could very easily rectify that. It would not be hard to make it good money. There's sort of this idea when I talk to people, sometimes they think a skilling boss needs to have rewards that relate to skilling. You know, you should get some new axe or a fishing rod or something like that, which is silly. Just because it's a skilling boss, it doesn't have to have unique rewards that relate to skilling. It is a boss, just like any other boss. You're just using skilling to kill it instead of combat or melee or whatever, you know. So it should have rewards that relate to combat that are going to be worth a lot. That makes this a very good and profitable activity. Also, I don't really like how bosses have a lot of resources on their drop table, but if there is going to be a boss with resources on the drop table, this should be the boss that has the best resources, because you're actually using skilling, which is where resources originally come from. So it should have the most resources of any boss in the game, more than Azora or Vorkath or anything like that. This shouldn't just be a little low-level boss that gives you a little bit of money, you know. This is a perfect opportunity to create a boss that is competitive with things like raids or Vorkath. Because it does have high recs, like I said earlier, it shouldn't affect the economy or anything too drastically if it has good rewards, because there's not going to be a whole ton of people able to do it. And that is pretty much all my thoughts on what a skilling boss should be, what I want to see from a skilling boss. Once again, comment down below what you guys think a skilling boss should be. And that is it for this video, so thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.